What if I told you Desi Arnaz had a secret that could have destroyed everything? Not his drinking, not his affairs, but something far more dangerous, something nobody expected, something that almost ended it all. Because here's what nobody tells you about Hollywood secrets in the 1950s. The danger isn't the secret itself, it's who finds it first, and in Desi's case, the wrong people were already asking questions. They were getting closer, until one mistake changed everything. This is the story of one letter, one photograph, and one innocent mistake that nearly destroyed America's most famous couple. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. Sometimes protecting people means hiding the truth from everyone, even the person you love most. 1951, I Love Lucy, is breaking every record imaginable. 40 million Americans tune in every Monday night. The ratings, unprecedented. In 1951, television was still new. Most Americans had just bought their first TV sets. Then I Love Lucy came along and changed everything. On Monday nights, entire cities would go quiet. Restaurants would empty. America stopped to watch Lucy and Ricky Ricardo. CBS built their empire around this couple. They had merchandising deals worth millions. Every major corporation wanted him. Philip Morris, Ford Motors, General Foods. Except Desi Arnaz has a problem. A 17-year-old problem living in Cuba. Her name is Isabel, and she's his daughter. Let me paint you the scene. August 1951, Desilu Studios. Tuesday afternoon between tapings. The crew's at lunch. Desi's meeting with CBS executives. A production assistant named Margaret Riley is alone in his office. 23 years old, fresh from UCLA, sharp, the kind of person who notices details others miss. She's filing papers when she sees it. A letter, Cuban letterhead. Nothing unusual, right? Desi's got family in Havana, business connections. Everyone knows the except this letter is different. Margaret picks it up. It's her job to organize correspondence. The letter's in Spanish, but she took 4 years in high school. She can read enough. Then she sees one line, 10 words that change everything. Isabel asks about you constantly. She's so proud of her father. Isabel, father. Think about what this means. It's 1951. America's obsessed with moral purity. Having a child out of wedlock. Career-ending. And Desi Arnaz, America's favorite husband, has a secret daughter nobody knows about. Margaret's hands start shaking. She puts the letter back exactly where she found it. Goes back to work like nothing happened. But she can't forget those words. Now here's what makes this truly dangerous. This isn't just about morality. In 1951, Cuba's becoming a political powder keg. The FBI has a file on Desi, a thick one. They're monitoring his phone calls to Havana, tracking who he sends money to, following his business connections. Why? Because America is terrified of communism. The Red Scare is in full swing. McCarthy's making lists, and anyone with connections to politically unstable countries is suspect. Desi's family had been powerful in Cuba before the revolution. His father was mayor. They had connections to the old regime, the regime Castro would eventually build on. A secret daughter born to a politically connected Cuban family. That's not a scandal. That's a weapon. They could use her as leverage, force Desi to do things, or expose her and destroy his career. Margaret understands this. She's worked in Hollywood long enough to know how information becomes currency, so she stays silent. 3 months pass. I Love Lucy becomes the #1 show in America. Desi and Lucy are on every magazine cover. CBS is talking about extending their contract, building an empire around them. Everything's perfect. Until one night in November, they're celebrating after a successful episode. Champagne's flowing. The show just hit #1 in the Nielsen ratings. Margaret's there with the other assistants. She's had a few drinks. The secret's been weighing on her for months. She mentions it to her friend, Jean, just a hint. You know Desi's got family. In Cuba, nobody talks about that. All she says, but that's all it takes. The next day, Jean mentions it to her roommate, who mentions it to someone at Variety, who mentions it to someone else, and suddenly whispers are circulating through every studio lot in Los Angeles. Nobody has proof. Nobody knows the full story, but everyone's asking questions. Did you hear something about Desi and some family in Cuba? I heard he's sending money somewhere. You think there's a kid? CBS executives start looking at Desi differently. The questions become more pointed. How's your family in Cuba, Desi? Any political complications we should know about? Desi feels it, the shift. He knows something's wrong, but he doesn't know what, and that's what terrifies him. Let me take you back to 1933, Santiago de Cuba, before everything fell apart. Desi's 16 years old. His family's wealthy, respected, they own property, they have political influence, they move in the highest circles of Cuban society. Desi's not just some rich kid, he's talented. He plays music at society parties, sings, dances. He's charming, handsome, full of life. Everyone in Santiago knows the Arnaz family. Everyone respects them. He meets Elena Castillo at a party in June. One of those grand affairs that the old Cuban aristocracy used to throw. Women in ball gowns, men in white dinner jackets, an orchestra playing in the garden. Elena's 17, stunning, educated in Spain, from one of the oldest families in Santiago. Her father's a judge. Her mother comes from Spanish nobility. She's everything a young man from Desi's world should want, and they fall for each other immediately. That summer becomes their entire world. Secret meetings in the gardens of her family's estate, stolen kisses behind the oleander bushes, love letters passed through trusted servants, making promises they actually believe they can keep. We'll get married, Desi tells her. After I finish school, we'll build a life together. Elena believes him. Why wouldn't she? Their families approve. The match is perfect. Two old Cuban families joining together. It's exactly what everyone expects. They spend every moment they can together, swimming at the beach, dancing at parties, talking for hours about their future. Desi wants to be a musician. Elena wants to study literature in Madrid. They'll do it all together. Then September hits, and their world collapses. Revolution tears through Cuba. Desi's father, who'd been mayor of Santiago, becomes a target overnight. The family loses everything in weeks. They flee to Miami, with nothing but the clothes they're wearing. Desi never sees Elena again. He doesn't know she's pregnant. They flee to Miami, with nothing but the clothes they're wearing. Desi never sees Elena again. He doesn't know she's pregnant. Elena's family makes sure of that. When she discovers her condition in October, her parents are horrified, not because she's pregnant, but because she's pregnant with the child of a family that's fallen from grace. The Arnaz name is ruined in Cuba, associated with the old regime, with corruption, so Elena's father makes a decision. They'll keep the pregnancy quiet, send Elena to family in the countryside, raise the baby as Elena's younger sister. They tell Desi's family in Miami that Elena married someone else. Desi believes it. He's 17, penniless in a foreign country, trying to survive. He moves on, works in warehouses, forms a band, builds a career, meets Lucy in 1940, marries her, builds a life. Meanwhile, Elena raises Isabel alone, keeping every letter Desi wrote that summer, telling Isabel stories about her father, though Isabel thinks he's just an old friend. October 1951, Elena's watching I Love Lucy in her apartment in Havana. Isabel's sitting next to her, 17 years old now. Isabel sees Desi on screen and says, "Mother, you never told me your friend became so famous." That's when Elena decides Isabel deserves to know the truth. She writes a letter in November, explains everything, the pregnancy, the lies, the years of raising Isabel alone. She includes a photograph. She doesn't want money. She just wants Desi to know their daughter exists. The letter takes 3 weeks to reach California. It arrives at Desi Studios in early December, right before Christmas. Desi opens it alone in his office. After hours, the building's empty except for the cleaning crew. He reads it once, twice, 3 times. Then he sees the photograph tucked inside. Isabel looks exactly like his mother. Same eyes, same smile. There's no question. This is his daughter. Desi sits there for hours holding that photograph. He's got a 17-year-old daughter in Cuba who doesn't know he's her father. A daughter whose existence could obliterate everything he's built. Should he tell Lucy? But how do you tell your wife of 11 years you have a teenage daughter you never knew about? So he makes an impossible choice. He'll support Isabel financially, but he'll keep it secret. From Lucy, from CBS, from everyone. He responds to Elena the next day, sends money, arranges monthly payments through his business manager, and prays it never comes out. That's what the letter Margaret found was about. Instructions for another payment. For 3 months, it works. Then Margaret mentions it to Jean. And the whisper starts spreading. Asterisk, by December the rumor reaches someone dangerous. Walter Hendricks, a lawyer with expensive tastes. He works for one of CBS's competitors, desperate to compete with I Love Lucy. He hires a private investigator named Frank Morrison, who specializes in celebrity dirt. Morrison finds Elena Castillo's name in Santiago society records, birth records showing Elena had a child in 1934, financial records showing monthly payments from Los Angeles to Havana through Desi's business manager. Morrison brings it to Hendrix in January 1952. I don't have proof the kid is his, but it's close enough to make trouble. Hendrix sees the opportunity. He approaches Desi's business manager, Arthur Perkins, on a Friday afternoon. Mr. Perkins, we should talk about Desi Arnaz's daughter in Cuba. Perkins goes pale. I want $50,000 and a producer credit on I Love Lucy, or I take what I have to head a hopper. Let the columnists ask questions. Let the FBI get curious about all that money flowing to Cuba. I need to talk to Desi. You've got until Monday morning. Perkins goes straight to Desi. We have a serious problem. Desi has until Monday to decide. Most Hollywood stories go one of two ways here. Either the secret destroys everything, or someone buries it deeper. Desi chooses a third option. That Friday night, he tells Lucy everything. They're at home in Beverly Hills. Desi's been quiet all evening. What is it? Lucy asks. I need to tell you something, Desi says, and you're probably going to hate me for it. He tells her about Elena, about that summer in Santiago, about fleeing Cuba, about the letter, about Isabel. He shows her the photograph. This is my daughter. I didn't know about her until 2 months ago. I've been supporting her, and now someone's trying to blackmail me over it. He expects her to explode, to pack her bags, to leave instead. She asks one question. Is she yours? Yes. And you've been supporting her since you found out? Yes. Lucy sits there for a long moment, looking at the photograph. Then she says something Desi never expected. Then we protect her together. This is what nobody knew about Lucille Ball. Beneath the comedy, she was one of the toughest people in Hollywood. She didn't care about the scandal. She cared about the child. If this gets out, Lucy says, they'll destroy that little girl's life just to hurt you. We're not letting that happen. She looks at Isabel's photograph. She's beautiful. She looks like you. Then she becomes all business. Who else knows? Over that weekend, Lucy and Desi come up with a plan, not to hide the secret better, to control it. Monday morning, Lucy's lawyer, Martin Gang, meets with Hendrix. Gang's one of the most feared attorneys in Hollywood. He presents Hendrix with a choice. Take $10,000 and sign an NDA, requiring you to destroy all evidence, or face a lawsuit for extortion. That'll end your career, and possibly land you in prison. Hendrix takes the money, but Lucy and Desi know that's not enough. As long as the secret exists, it's a liability. As long as Isabel's in Cuba, she's vulnerable, so they do something remarkable. They bring Elena and Isabel to America. It takes 2 years of planning. They work through the State Department, claim Elena's a political refugee, fleeing Cuba's unstable government, which technically is true. March 1953, Elena and Isabel arrive in Miami, not on a commercial flight, on a small charter plane arranged through State Department contacts. Everything's been carefully orchestrated to avoid attention. Lucy and Desi are there to meet them, not publicly, not with cameras or reporters, just the four of them at a small hotel near the airport, a place where nobody asks questions. Desi meets his daughter for the first time, really meets her, not as a photograph, not as an idea, but as a real person standing in front of him. Isabel's 19 years old. She has his eyes, his smile, his way of tilting her head when she's nervous. She loves music just like he does. Elena's told her everything now, about that summer in Santiago, about the revolution, about why she never knew. Papa, she says. It's the only word she can manage, the only word that matters. Then she's in his arms and they're both crying. 19 years of separation, 19 years of not knowing, all of it collapsing into this one moment. Desi holds her and weeps. This daughter he never got to raise, this child he never knew existed until 2 years ago. He's missed her first words, her first steps, her first day of school, her first heartbreak, all of it. But he's here now, and he's not going anywhere. Lucy watches this reunion from across the room, not jealous, not hurt, just witnessing this moment of pure love and loss and redemption. Later, she'll tell her closest friend Vivian Vance, that's when I knew we did the right thing. Whatever it cost us, whatever risk we took, that moment made it all worth it. They set Elena and Isabel up in Pasadena. far from Hollywood. Give Isabel a new last name. Enroll her at UCLA. Desi visits, whenever he can, quietly, just a father spending time with his daughter. And here's the beautiful part. Lucy comes to, not because she has to, because she wants to. She and Isabel become close. They become a family. Complicated, secret, but real. The story never breaks during their lifetimes. A few people know. Martin Gang, the business manager, Margaret Riley eventually figures it out, but none of them ever speak publicly. Hendrix keeps his NDA until he dies in 1974. Isabel lives a quiet life in California. Graduates from UCLA in 1957. Marries a history professor that same year. Desi walks her down the aisle. Lucy cries through the entire ceremony. Isabel has 3 children, Desi's grandchildren. He visits them regularly, buys them presents, tells them stories about Cuba. To the outside world, Isabel's just a family friend, someone Desi and Lucy helped immigrate. Nobody questions it, but Isabel knows the truth, and she keeps it secret for her father's sake. When Desi dies in 1986, Isabel's at his funeral, sitting in the back, away from cameras. She doesn't speak to reporters, but she mourns him deeply. Lucy dies in 1989. Isabel's there, for that funeral too. This time, she sits with the family. Still, nobody asks questions. 2019, 33 years after Desi's death, one of Isabel's daughters speaks in an interview with a documentary filmmaker. By then, everyone's gone. Lucy, Desi, Elena, even Margaret Riley. But Isabel's daughter confirms it all. Shows the photographer Desi kept. Isabel at 17, looking so much like her father. Shares letters Desi wrote to Isabel over the years. Gentle letters, loving letters. And she shares one more thing. A letter Lucy wrote to Isabel in 1985, 1 year before Desi died. "We did it to protect you," Lucy wrote. "In a different era, maybe we could have been honest. But in our time, the truth would have destroyed your life and ours. We chose your safety over our honesty. I hope you can forgive us." Isabel kept that letter until her death in 2018. Her daughter said something in that interview that stuck with me. "My grandmother always told me that Desi Arnaz gave her a life, but it was Lucy who gave her a family." Think about that. This is the part of Desi Arnaz's story that never made the part that was too complicated, too human, too real. Because here's what nobody wants to admit about our heroes. They're not perfect. They make mistakes. They have pasts that don't fit the image. But sometimes, how they handle those mistakes is what makes them worth remembering. Desi Arnaz spent 35 years carrying a secret that could have destroyed him. He did it to protect a daughter he never got to raise properly. And when that secret threatened to explode, he didn't run. He didn't deny it. He faced it, with Lucy by his side. That's the real story of I Love Lucy. Not the episodes, not the ratings, not the empire. It's the story of 2 people who chose love over image, who chose to protect a child over protecting their reputation. And they did it when that choice could have cost them everything. So think about that next time you watch a rerun. Behind those laughs, behind that perfect marriage on screen, was a real marriage that survived something most people couldn't imagine. A secret that should have destroyed them. But instead, it brought them closer. They said Hollywood knew everything about Desi Arnaz. But the most important chapter was the one he kept to himself. Not because he was ashamed, but because some stories aren't about you. They're about the people you love enough to protect, even when it costs you everything to keep them safe. That's what Desi learned in 1951 when that letter arrived. That's what Lucy proved when she stood by him. That's what Isabel understood when she kept the secret even after her father died. Some truths are more important than fame. Some relationships matter more than reputation. And sometimes, the greatest act of love is knowing when to stay silent.